The muscle is made up of many different components. One part is the tendon. This part helps connect the bone to the muscle, which enables movement. This is due to the muscle pulling on it, and then the tendon pulls on the bone. There are three types of connective tissue in a muscle. One type is the epimysium. This surrounds the muscle and helps encase all of the other structures inside. Another type is the perimysium. This connective tissue holds all the muscle fibers together and divides each muscle fiber into separate parts. The final connective material is the endomysium. This is the material between each muscle fiber, and it helps keep them together. The origin of a muscle is the attachment at the stationary end of the muscle. For example, for the biceps brachii, it connects to the scapula. This is as, during a contraction, the scapula won't move. The insertion is different, as it's the attachment to the mobile end of the muscle. For example, in the bicep brachii, this is the ulna. In the muscle, there are bundles of fibers. These are called fascicles. Fascicles could be many different shapes and sizes. For example, a fusiform bundle can be found in the biceps brachii. However, a circular one, which is different shaped, can be found in the lips. These help provide different speed of contractions and different possible movements. Skeletal muscles are also surrounded in blood vessels. This is because they need oxygen as a source of energy to help them contract and relax. The oxygen diffuses into the muscles, and a byproduct when the oxygen is used is carbon dioxide and water. Each muscle is controlled by neurons. This is because the brain will send an impulse down the spinal cord. This impulse will then be transferred to the muscles, causing a contraction. Skeletal muscles also fatigue. This is when there isn't enough oxygen in the muscle to provide all the energy needed for them to move. The muscles also have different names depending on their movement. For example, the agonist. This is the prime mover during a movement. This is because it has the largest workload and it is responsible for the movement. For example, during a bicep curl, this would be the bicep brachii, as it contains most of the power needed. The antagonist is the muscle that isn't doing the contraction. It prevents overshoot and creates slight resistance, which protects the body during the contraction. This muscle also lengthens. During a bicep curl, this would be the triceps brachii. The synergist helps the agnostic muscle with movement. This is as it adds force and stability. For example, during a bicep curl, this would be the deltoid muscles. The fixator gives the agnostic muscle stability, and it prevents any unwanted movement. The origin is the attachment of a tendon at the stationary end of a muscle. For example, in the biceps brachii, this would be the scapula. The insertion, however, is the attachment to the mobile end of the muscle. Similarly, in the bicep brachii, this would be the ulna. There are many main muscles in the body. These are at different locations and they have different function. Their main function is movement. This is a diagram to show some of the main muscles in the body. In the deltoid, there are three different muscles: the anterior deltoid, posterior deltoid, and medial deltoid. These all originate at the scapula, as it doesn't move there, and they insert at the humerus. The anterior deltoid helps with flexion and abduction. The posterior deltoid helps with extension and lateral rotation. However, the medial deltoid helps with abduction and flexion. The antagonist muscle is the latissimus dorsi. The latissimus dorsi helps adduction and extension at the arms. It originates at the iliac crest and thoracic vertebrae, and it inserts at the underside of the humerus. Its antagonist pairing is all the different parts of the deltoid. The latissimus dorsi muscle is found in the middle of the back. However, all of the deltoid muscles are found in the shoulder. The posterior is found at the back, the anterior at the front, and medial in the middle. The rotary cuffs help with flexion, extension, and rotation. It originates at the scapula and inserts at the humerus. Its antagonist muscle is the pectoralis major. The pectoralis major helps with adduction, rotation, flexion, and extension. It originates at the head of the clavicle and inserts at the sternum. Its antagonist pair is the rotary cuffs. These would help a boxer as it allows them to move their arm forward and extend it to punch their opponent. The supinator muscle helps with suppination. It originates at the ulna and it inserts at the radius. Its antagonist muscle is the pronator teres. The pronator teres helps with pronation. It originates at the humerus and it inserts at the radius. The biceps brachii helps with flexion at the arm. It inserts at the ulna and it originates at the scapula. Its antagonist pair is the triceps brachii. The triceps brachii helps extend the lower arm. It originates at the scapula and the head of the humerus, and it inserts at the ulna. This would help during a bicep curl, as the bicep would help flex the arm up and contract the bicep. The hamstring originates at the pelvis and inserts at the fibular head. It helps with flexion at the lower leg. Its antagonist pair is the quadricep. The quadricep helps extend the leg. It also originates at the pelvis, but it inserts at the femur. This would help a footballer, as the quadricep will allow the leg to extend forward and make contact with the ball. The iliopsoas helps with flexion of the leg. It originates in the ilium, also a part of the pelvis, and it inserts at the femur. Its antagonist pair is the gluteus maximus. The gluteus maximus helps extend the hip. It also originates at the ilium and it also inserts at the femur. The gluteus medius and minimus insert at the femur and originate at the ilium. They help extend, abduct, and lateral rotate the hip joint. Its antagonist pair is the adductor. The adductors help with adduction at the hip. It originates at the ischium and inserts at the femur. This would help a gymnast, as during the splits, the adductors will help adduct the leg and make the movement possible. The tibialis anterior is in the shin, is the muscle in the shin. Helps with dorsiflexion, which involves pointing your toes upwards. It originates in the tibia and it inserts at the first metatarsal. Its antagonist muscle is the gastrocnemius and soleus. Gastrocnemius and soleus help with plantar flexion, which is pointing your toes. This is found at the back part of the lower leg. It inserts at the patella and it originates at the tibia. This would help a gymnast, as during their routine, when they point their toes, the gastrocnemius would contract, therefore pointing their toes. The internal obliques are part of the core. They originate at the iliac crest and insert at the ribs. They help with flexion, lateral rotation, and lateral flexion. The antagonist pair is the external oblique. External obliques originate at the ribs and insert at the iliac crest. They also help with flexion, lateral rotation. The rectus abdominis helps with flexion. This is found at the 5th to 7th rib, and it inserts at the pubic crest. Its antagonist pair is the erector spinae. The erector spinae helps with extension, flexion, and rotation. It originates at the iliac crest and inserts from the first 6 to the last 6 ribs. Its antagonist pair is the rectus abdominal.